Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I thought what I would do today, let me share my screen. Okay, so now you should be able to see my program. And actually, I know it's a small group, but I wanted to let everyone know, and I don't know if they have seen this in the last week. Everybody should have seen that pop-up come in when they open the program for the first time since the update was put on the server, and see the message for update available. And all you have to do, if you don't want to update in the moment, or maybe you're sitting in front of a patient, you can always X out. So click on the X on the top left-hand corner of the pop-up window, and you can X out of the update and not do the update in the moment when the pop-up comes. And then, whenever you're ready to do the pop-up, if you're opening the program at that point, the pop-up will come again. But if you've already been in the program and have finished your work and saved your work, and you're ready to do the update at that point, then just go here to view and click on reload. And when you click on reload the program, it reloads the program as if you were opening it again, and you will get the pop-up. The one thing I do want to caution you, if any of you have not updated yet, is to make sure that you back up your cases before you start the update. And we did send out an email advising you to do that. So I hope everybody did that. And I mean, I haven't seen any issue with my cases. So I assume, nothing is going to happen. This is just a precautionary measure, is to back up your cases before you do anything with the program. And you should be backing up your cases regularly anyway.
Polly, I just put the link to the mailing in our chat,
Okay.
and one of our attendees is saying that he's getting the update unavailable for the index, and so maybe say a few words about that, how it's going to be coming very soon.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So with the new version of SHS, we have re-indexed all the books because there are some new books that came in from authors, and so they needed to be included in the database. So when we do that, when we include new material, we have to re-index. So there is a new index available. We wanted everyone to update the program first and, get through most people updating their program, and then we're going to put that new index up on the server. It just becomes a lot to put two big downloads up on the server, both from the user side and from our side. And sometimes if it doesn't go well, then we get a lot of calls coming in. So in order to smooth that whole process out, we're putting the update on first, and then a week later, we're going to put the new index on. So if you go up here in user preferences, and let me just move our chat box to the side. If you go into reference library settings, you will see this new button now with the new update, which says download index. And earlier, and I don't know if everyone was aware of this, earlier when we released new books, that meant a re-indexing and a whole new database, and you would have to come in for tech support to have your database switched out. Now we can put that material up on the server, and you can just download it from within your program. So every time there is a new index available, we'll send out some kind of informational email to let you know that, and you can come in here and download the index. And this will put all the new books in your database. But just remember, you only have, if those are books that are free, then they should show up automatically. But if there are books that need a purchase, then you will have to purchase those books. You'll get a new configuration file. You have to start your program with the new configuration file, and then that book will appear automatically in your reference library if you have the new index downloaded. So, okay. So if you're getting the message index not available, that's just because we haven't put it up on the server yet. So give it a few more days, and we're going to wait till everybody's updated and we've seen that there are no issues, everything went smoothly, then we'll put the index up. And we'll let you all know when the new index is up on the server so you can download the new index. Okay, so I think there's a question or two, and I can handle those, Lucy. Or my thought to the group was that I would take everybody through a review of the patient management system, how to open a case. And I thought we would do 3 different scenarios: how to open a case and then put in rubrics and develop a repertorization and then save the case. That would be, case number 1 when you're going in order. The second would be when you start with a repertorization, you have a patient in mind, but you haven't really created a patient file. So then you take all of that and you do it in reverse order. So you do the repertorization first, and then you create the patient second, and then you put it all together. That's scenario 2. The third scenario would be where you create a repertorization and then you attach it to an existing patient. So the patient already exists, but you didn't open their file first. You started with the repertorization first. That's scenario 3. And then actually there is a 4th scenario in which you open an existing patient and change things out. So, okay. So Andreas is asking, could you please explain the config file issue? First new index, then config? No. Andreas, you only need a new config if you bought some books. If you bought new books, then you need a new config. And then you will have those books available when you open the program with the new config. The index is something you download, so it adds those books to your database, but you only get the access through the configuration file. So if you don't buy any new books, you don't really need to even download the index because nothing has changed for you. If you end up buying books in the future, then you will need to download the index, buy the books, get the new configuration file, and then start the program with the new configuration file. And then those books will be available. So the other thing is if you buy new repertories, and in this case, really only the complete 23 applies. And I think there might be a couple of new repertories in the new material we're releasing. Then the reverse repertories, if you use reverse repertories, the reverse repertories are always in the reference library. And those two, in order to get those, you will need to download the index. So I hope that kind of is clear. Let us know in the chat box if that made sense. Okay. Peggy is asking, can you show again how to find just one remedy and all the rubrics for that remedy? And that's one of the ways to do that, Peggy, is the reverse repertory that I just talked about. So let's start with that, and then we'll see how much of the patient management I can review with everyone. Okay. I just read Andreas's comment. Okay, so Peggy, there's, I think, 3 or 4 different ways, 4, I think, that I can think of to get just all the rubrics for one remedy. And so I'm trying to think. So the simplest way that I would think of would be to go to advanced search here and say search remedy. You would come here, up here, and choose your remedy. So let's pick a small one. So here we go. Okay. So I picked it. This remedy just came up in a discussion yesterday. So I'm picking Synapis nigra, then apply. And then you're going to choose the repertory from which you want the rubrics. So I'm going to choose a smaller one. But you could choose the complete if that's what you always use. Now, if you want all the rubrics from all the sections, you're going to leave it at all section. This will be a huge pull. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to choose one section. And I'm not going to leave it at all sections because that would just take up too much time in this tutorial. And then you're going to say match at least one, because and then, you know, any number, unless you wanted specifically, you want to pick up only the smaller rubrics for that remedy, or a certain mid-sized rubric, then you could, you know, you could definitely put in a number here and say, I want 50 or less remedies, or 25 or less, or, you know, maybe even 10 or less if you want the smaller rubrics. And you could even say one, or two or less if you want to pick up really the unique rubrics for that remedy. So you could do that as well. So I'm going to leave it at any number. And I'm just going to run the search. You can see the remedy is written here. And here's my search window, which you can get through this third icon here. And you can see I pulled the mind symptoms for Synapis nigra. And so here are all the mind symptoms for that remedy. If I had left it at all sections, then after the mind section, it would go, you know, to the next section, I think, vertigo. And so this would be the quickest and easiest way to pull all the rubrics or a certain section or chapter of rubrics for a single remedy. The other way, so, oh, the Zoom bar. Okay, so the other way to do it would be to, of course, if you wanted to use your repertory section, is to come into your repertory section. And then, I mean, this is very straightforward as well. You can, you know, just come and say Synapis nigra, apply. And now you can see that the filter button went pink or purple. And then now every chapter of every repertory is now limited to Synapis nigra. So when I open the vertigo section, this is only Synapis nigra. And the way to be sure, I don't have my remedies turned on because I think it takes up too much room. But if I turn my remedies on, you can see that it's only Synapis nigra. I could go to another repertory and do the same exact thing. And there's no, I guess there are no rubrics. It's an older, Boraki is an older repertory. So there might be no rubrics. Let's see if there are mine. So this is not a remedy in Boraki, apparently. But we could check another one. Let's see, Massimo. Oh, this is, let's see, maybe there should be rubrics here. Let's see, can't find, yeah. So, I mean, if it's not, if that repertory is not, it's a very small remedy, Synapis nigra. If the repertory is not showing any rubrics, that chapter that you opened, then it probably means that there are no, that either that repertory doesn't have that remedy in it, or that particular chapter doesn't have rubrics for that remedy. But if you limit from here, so if you limit from your repertory module, then it will limit it for, and so it's convenient in a way, if you don't want to just look at one repertory, you want to see all the repertories, then it would be good to do it from here. The third way to do it would be to use the global search bar, and you could just type the, let's say, you know, pulse. And then if I say this was, so, you know, oh, this is pulse plus. So that's pulse plus all the other, let's choose, I think, let's choose ARN. And you can see arnica remedy. And now I could go let me, okay, so I could go here. There are too many Zoom bars here. So now if you wanted a specific chapter, I think you could probably, let me see if I can do this. I haven't done this. So now I've limited it to arnica and mind, and I'm going to run this as a new search. Let's see if it runs. I haven't done this myself. But it should be possible to put your remedy here, and then from either from the filter section, choose a chapter and an author and a repertory, and just get that. This is going to be a huge search because it's a big remedy. But here, so it works, you know, so you can do that here. You can put your chapter and it will run it for all the repertories. Or to make it more narrow, you could come here, run it as a repertory search, and in fact, even filter for author and section. So you could do that as well. There's multiple ways to isolate all the rubrics for one remedy. And the last way that I want to show you here is to go to your reference library section. Oh, let me remove the filter here, is to go to your reference library and pull up all your reverse repertories. So you can do that easily by choosing books, coming here and saying reverse repertory, say okay. And now I have all my reverse repertories. And so now you can also select by remedy if you wish. So let's say, let's go back to smaller, but maybe not all of them will have it. So now you can see that my selection is limited by both reverse repertory and by remedy. And now all of these, the ones that are left, all have a selection of rubrics for. So I'm going to go to Kent because it's smaller. And you can see Synapis, it's limited to the remedy that I wanted. And here are all the rubrics for mind, vertigo, head, pain. So this is good for reference. You can, you know, for reading or for analysis or for exploration, investigation, if you're looking to see what are the rubrics for a particular remedy. But if you do this last method of isolating the rubrics for one remedy, you can't really put these in a clipboard. The first three methods that I showed allows you to select the rubrics that you like and just click and put them automatically on a clipboard. But if you go into the reverse repertory, this is more for research purposes, and this will not let you put rubrics directly from here into a clipboard. So that's the difference with the fourth method. Okay, so I'm going to remove all the filters. Let's see, none here, none here. Okay. So any questions, Lucy, before I start on the patient management?
No questions on any of what we've talked about so far.
Okay, good. Okay, so the patient management system can be accessed. And Lucy, please jump in if I'm forgetting this, because I now have my own preferred series of clicks to create a patient and save a patient. So I might not be using other possibilities, but I know you have a much broader view of the program. So the two ways in which you can access the patient management system that I know of that I can use quickly is from here. Patient management, you can see it's the last but one icon from the bottom on the left. And the other way is obviously here. And the full menu, I find that the full menu is here to create a patient, to save to an existing patient, and to view patients. And if you really just quickly want to open a patient or the patient management module, what this does, which is different from what is happening here, is this just quickly opens up the patient management module, and you can just create a patient and go for it. If you want to do anything other than that, then you have to come here to either save to an existing patient or to view patients. Let me get rid of this search as well. So let's say that we were to start from here. So you're going to add new patient, and I'm going to say test, let's say 1. And now I can fill in as many or as few of these information boxes here. You can change the date of the session to, let's say you're just only creating this 2 days after the patient came, or you're one of those who likes to get ahead and is creating a patient 2 days before they come. You can put the date that you want, and it will not automatically put today's date. So you can choose what date you want to put on here. You can put in as many symptoms or less, as much information as you want. You can either drag and drop or attach files that you have on your computer and put them in here. Just remember that those files will be here as a record, but you'll not be able to view those files. In order to view those files, you would still have to use the software associated with those files. So you'll have to open your preview or your Word document, or like through the software that's associated with those. So this will hold the files here, but it will not allow you to browse them.
Polly, can I say one thing about that?
Mm-hmm.
And so under user preferences, that's where you choose where those attachments go.
Yeah.
If you go to user preferences, patient management settings, that you're going to choose where the attachments go. Also, they are only in that one session line. So if you've put something in a session line and then you create a new session line, the attachment is going to be in the old session line only,
in the first session, whichever session you attach those files in is where it will be.
It doesn't carry over from session to session.
Yes. So 6 months later, if the patient is still with you and you want to consult those files that you attach, you have to go back to the session where you attached it to. And you'll see, you probably already all know this, as you add consultation sessions, you'll get lines created here. And so you'll just have to, see where the attachment is and go back to the attachment there, but it won't repeat in every session. Thank you, Lucy. Okay. And so comments, attachments, and then you're going to, obviously, if this is a new patient for the first time, you're going to leave that open, and you're just going to leave this open as well. If you don't want it taking up room while you're working with the patient, you can always use this minus button on the top left-hand corner, which is there in every window, to minimize it. And you can see that it comes to the bottom of your screen. And so now I'm just going to be here, and let's, we can put some just random symptoms in. So let's say here, and we can put absent-minded, and since we were in vertigo, let's say deep-seated and anemia, and that's good enough. So now you have your clipboard with the rubrics. You can, so this may, or you can do your analysis, you can filter, you can change your strategy if you like, but once you're done, and you might have multiple clipboards here, I'm only creating one. So I would go back to patient management, which is here at the bottom. And then let's consult this. Let's say I'm going to give conium. And so let's go back to patient management, and then you're going to say conium and 200. And then you're going to just, you'll only have one option because this is a new patient. And so it will only say save, and you're going to say save. It's going to ask you which clipboards. Sometimes there are many clipboards. Sometimes some of those clipboards can be junk clipboards, and then you create one or two good ones out of it. So you can choose which clipboards you want saved and which ones you're going to trash. If you're going to save all of them, then just, say select all and then say save. And you will get this pop-up that says patient saved successfully. You will get a session line over here. And now you're in this session. So once you want to see the entire patient with the details, you see, so this is the session for today. If I had put in any notes, they would be here and the remedy is here. So I can, when I close, you see this X, big X is to close the current session. So you can close the current session and you can see that that clipboard disappeared and now you have a new patient. So when you go back to patient management and you say view patients, you can see that test 1 is there with conium as the remedy. So this is just the first straightforward way to save a patient.
Hey,
now,
Rupali,
yeah.
one quick thing. When you X'd out, you were still in that one test 1 patient chart. You had just closed out of the session.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes. And actually I'm going to show, because that there were no other sessions actually, but if there are other sessions and you close out of that one session, you'll see all the session lines at the bottom. So I'm going to actually, let me show this. So you see, I have two sessions here. And so now if, let's say I create a clipboard, let me go back to my repertory module. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to close this. So here we go. Let's say I just put anything. And so now we have a new clipboard here. So I go back to patient management and I'm not in any session. So the only thing possible at this point is if I'm not in any session and you just have the patient open, the options available to you at this point will only be to save the new clipboard as a session, because I'm not in any session. But if I was in a session, and you can see that it opened my previous clipboards from that session, plus the new clipboard that I just created. If you do that, if you are in an existing patient, in an existing session, you can see that the options now change to update this current session that I'm in, or to save as a new session. But if I wasn't in any session, then I just see the session lines and it asks me to save, which means it will save by default as a new session. But if I'm in one of those existing previous sessions, it will ask me if I want to update that session because I changed my mind or I added something, or do I still want to save my work as a new session? And then if, let's say, if I update, then it's just going to add that new clipboard to the other 3 clipboards, and it will update the time for now. But if I say save as new, you actually have the choice to save just your new clipboard, or you have the choice to bring all your old clipboards along, or some of those old clipboards along. So you can save. So what will happen here now is it will create a new session line, and you have the choice in that new session if you want the historical sessions or if you just want the new session, the new clipboard. So I'm going to deselect all of them, and I'm just going to say save clipboard 1, which is my new rubrics for this patient. And I'm going to say save. And you see now, I didn't change the remedy choice, which, you actually would have if this was a working patient, because that's why you have a new session and you have a new clipboard and you're not bringing all of the old clipboards along. So I would probably have changed this, but you can see now that there is a new session created with just one clipboard. And I could go back to the old session with the old 3 clipboards and that even older session with 1 clipboard that was merged, I guess, with another clipboard, but then the second clipboard. So this is a case left over from another training. So all the previous sessions are there. The new session is there with just the new clipboard. So this is, and now if I close this session, you can see that I've gone back now to the British School chart with all 3 sessions. So when I do that big X inside a session, it just closes that session. And here on the tab, you can see the active tab is still the British School. And now I have 3 session lines. So I could, I could choose to open another, a session, one of the older sessions, the latest session. I could make changes to it. And now if I make changes to this, so let's say I open this now, and I could add or subtract from this clipboard. So let's go back here. And I could just, add another rubric to an existing clipboard in an existing session in an existing patient. And now when I come back and I go back to my patient management, now I have the choice to update this clipboard as part of this same session. The time will also get updated, or I can save this as a new session. So it's your choice, like what you're thinking in terms of this patient. Is this brand new information? You want to save it as a new line, or if this is just a modification of earlier information, you were working on this case an hour ago, nothing's really changed in terms of the information you got from the patient. It's up to you. Like, you'll know what's going on with your patient and whether you want to update the last session or you want to save as new. So I'm just going to say update, and it's going to ask me clipboard 1 because that's the only clipboard right now active. I'm going to say save. And now let's say that I want to, so yeah, again, so I could again, if you're done with this session and this patient, then you could just X out the patient chart here where the active tab is. But if you still want to add some notes or something, you're still working, you can just close the session and you'll be back in the patient chart. So you're still in this patient. And the patient stays open till you X out of either the patient chart from this active tab here, or you close the entire patient management system from this big X here on the left-hand side. So if I did this, then it's going to close both this British School patient chart and the test one that I created when we first started talking about this. And so I can do that. And now both patients are closed. Okay, so we did how to start with the patient chart and then do the rep. And then we said, okay, how do we open an existing patient and change things around and then save? So let's create a clipboard and then either save it as a new patient or attach it to an existing patient.
And I would love to stress to everybody that, yes, Rupali showed how she made a change to a clipboard and updated that. Whenever you change your notes, information about the contact or anything, you also have to update after you make changes to that.
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, in general, for my constitutional cases, I'm not making many notes on my patient charts. They tend to go in my Word files that I have for each patient, my thoughts and my comments. So it's all in one kind of stream. And so I put it there. I'm not generally, but a lot there are a lot of people who are putting their interview notes and analysis and thoughts and all of that. So if you go back and open a patient chart and you just want to add some thoughts or analysis or fill out any of those boxes, information boxes, then you still have to save or update. You have to choose that. Otherwise, it won't do that. Okay, so here we have, let's see here, a live sensation. So now we have a clipboard we created. Now you can save this as a new patient, or you can attach this to an existing patient. So first, let's save this to a new patient. So I usually just go here and I say create new patient. You could also do it from this side. You can see that this is already highlighted. So it would be the same as clicking this, as clicking this. It's just somehow I've gotten used to always going to the main menu. And then let's say we call this test 2, and I would say save, and the same thing would happen. Nothing's really, you can see patient saved successfully. I have my session line. So there is no difference between creating the patient information first and then attaching a clipboard to it, versus creating the clipboard first and then opening a patient chart and attaching it. The commands, the pop-ups are all the same. And then when I X out of the patient management system, you can see that that patient and that clipboard disappeared. So now let's go back and create another clipboard. And now we have a clipboard that we want to attach to an existing patient. So I'm sure you've already figured it out. You're going to say save to existing patient, and it's going to pop up all the patients that you have at the moment. So you're going to choose which patient to attach this to. So let's say I want to attach it to the test 2 patient. I'm going to say open. And now you have the choice of, it's going to open you in the last session. So you can either update that last session, or you can create it and save it as a new session. And you can see that it also opened the clipboard that was associated with the last session. So now you actually have 2 clipboards, your new clipboard and the old clipboard associated with this session. So if I say save as new, it's going to ask me if I want to bring the old clipboard over in the new session or just the new information. So it's the same thing as when you open an existing patient, change things around, and then it will ask you, do you want to? So this is always going to be sort of the decision tree, is do you want to update a session or do you want to create a new session? And with either of those 2 choices, you're always going to have the choice of bringing your old session into the new session, or just doing your new clipboard, bringing your old clipboard into the new session, or just bringing your new clipboard. So you'll always have this pop up as well. And I'm going to say select all, save. You're going to get patient updated successfully, and it created a new session line, which is what I had asked for. Now, if I close the patient, so I can go back to the old session, you can see that it only has the old single clipboard, but the new session should have both clipboards, the old one that I wanted brought forward, and also the new one that I created. So these are the functionalities that I use the most. I have actually never, so I'm going to X out of that patient. Now you have the patient management system open, ready to add a new patient if you want. The one functionality that my mind never remembers to use is save. And Lucy, do you want to talk about that? I think that's just another way, like if you've created a clipboard and you click save, we can try that. Do you
Yes,
want to talk?
that save at the top is the very same as the save that you get when you've created a new patient, and it's within patient management.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's the
so
very
you're going to get, yeah, so it's the save at the bottom right that you get, that save option. It's the same as the save option here, but to me, it makes much more sense intuitively, I guess, to save from within the patient chart. So I
Mhm.
actually never go up here. And I think that that is really all of the functionality in patient management. So if people have questions based on their experience of patient management or places that they might have got stuck or it didn't work for them, maybe you want to put some questions in.
And while people are typing other questions, Magna has asked if I want to merge two clipboards.
Yeah.
And, so I'm assuming that, do you mean, Magda, within a session line, you have two clipboards you want to merge, or maybe give us some clarity?
So I'll just show how to merge clipboards. So I've opened an existing patient, and I've opened a session, a previous session, older session, where there are 3 clipboards. So the way to merge clipboards would be to come up here in this main clipboard icon and do a right click or a control click if you have a Mac. And then, so you can see what I also did was I named my clipboards. So, there's a clipboard called mentals, there's a clipboard called physicals, and then there's clipboard 1. So if you hover over them, you'll know which is which, right? And so let's say I want to create a single clipboard with my mentals and my physical symptoms all in one. So I'm going to say merge, and it's now going to create a merged clipboard. And the merge clipboard will show the ones that you have merged. So let's say you had 5 clipboards there and you just wanted to merge the 2. You're not going to have to guess which one you merged. It's going to, when you hover over the merged clipboards, it's going to tell you which ones you merged. And if those were numbered, it would say merged 2 and 3, because that's what those are. But because I named them, it says physical and mental. And so now you have your merged clipboard. Remember, this was an old session. So now I can update this session, or I can save this as a new session. Regardless of which I do, it will still, so if I say update, at the end, I will still have 3 session lines. But what will happen is it will update this depending on whichever clipboards I want in that save. But it will change the time to the current time. So this second line here, even though you're updating this session, it will not let it save as a historical session because you are updating it to a point in time in the present. So this is a fine detail. And so when you update a session, it will not create a new line, but it will update the time on that session, and it will pop that line over to the top. So this change will happen. And I'm going to show you that instead of saving it as a new line, because that is obvious, it will save it as a 4th line. But if I say update on this line, which I opened, it's going to ask me, like I said, it's going to ask me which clipboards I want to save with this. And I'm going to say select all because I want the original clipboards and the merged clipboards. And when I say save, you see that it changed the time to 11:47. And if I close this session, so now I have this is an old session. And then I have 6:11. The 6:11 session changed to 11:47, which is the time where I am right now. So if I close out now, you can see that this time stays changed. And so this is something, that we can look at. You still have your session line. You'll still have, if I go in there, you'll have your merged clipboard. You'll have your original clipboards, which is what I asked it. But the time does change. The date stays, you still have 3 session lines, but somehow the time changes. So this is something that we have to look at, and it updates it to, so this is, I mean, in essence, if you really care about the time of day, and sometimes for an acute, it might matter, because you might change in an acute, you might change the remedy 3 times that day. So it might matter, but in general, if these are constitutional sessions, your clipboard date will stay the same. And so it will still be as if you updated an old session. And this still shows us the latest session, but the time changes. So this I've noticed before, I just haven't put it on the technical team's attention. So we can do that. Okay, so did Magda clarify what her question was?
She got it answered. She said, thank you.
Okay, good.
Eileen asked a question about unmerging clipboards, and I had written to Eileen, but maybe point out that the unmerged, the 2 that you merged together are still there. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, usually what you would do is, if you don't want that merged clipboard, I would go up here and I would just, say, delete this merged clipboard. Yes. And now, I mean, your unmerged clipboards are always going to be there, your original clipboards. It's not going to change anything in those original clipboards. But if you don't want that merged clipboard anymore, you can just delete it. And so now this is back as it was. So that's what I would do with the merging and the unmerging. Okay, so I think that's what all we had for, at least that's what I had in my mind to show. I updated this morning. So this is the latest version of the program. So you guys can probably not see this because it pops up as a second window. But I am on 1.3.2. So, I mean, I have not in working with this update, and we've been testing. So I've been on beta versions of this update. I haven't seen any disturbances or anything not working well with patient management. Everything has been very stable. And so what you saw was the latest version, which is what all of you will have as soon as you update. I did not also notice any change in my cases. So this is my work home computer. In my clinic computer, I have all my cases from my clinic, and I have not seen any issues with that, but I would still counsel everyone to do a backup before they update. We are almost at time, so if there are no questions about
there are no more questions. Do you want to quickly, just to round this out, show people where they go to back up their case?
Yes, that would be a good thing. Actually, also, so there you can do 2 things. Every time you reload or open the program, you're going to get the update pop up. But if for any reason you don't see that, or you can always just click on Run Updater, and it will check if there's an update for you. And then to back up your cases, you will again go to User Preferences, and you will come here to the last option, Backup Restore Cases. You will click on Backup. And then I already have a folder on my desktop. You can see I have a folder on my desktop that says SHS backup files. And when I go into that, I have a lot of folders in here. I have my 2023 backups. I have my 2022 backups, all my cases from clinic, and I separate them out by year. But what you need to do is you need to tell the program where you want to back up your cases. So I would go up here, and if you want to I create a new folder. You can also just update an existing folder. So because these are actual backups of my cases, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here. just call it training, create. So now there's a new folder in 2023 called training, and I'm going to tell the program this is where to back up. And once you do that, now the folder is created and the program is ready to back up. You're not backed up yet after you create the folder. So now I'm going to click on backup again. It's in training. You can check that you're in the right folder. You're going to say backup. And now you can see that the backup was created successfully in my backup files, 2023 training. It will tell you exactly where the backup was created. And now if you want, now you can, change things around in the program, update the program. I routinely, if I end up importing my cases in here, I end up routinely deleting sometimes cases for testing betas and all that. So, when you want to restore, you would go to the restore button, indicate which backup you wanted to restore from, and it would put all the cases back. So that's, and you would get a message to say, your cases have been restored. Now, the other thing that can happen is that if you work with two computers routinely, you want to keep updating your list of patients in both. When you restore cases from one to the other, if your old cases are still there, it will tell you if it finds duplicate cases, because when you're backing up the entire list of cases. Just maybe we save this for another time, where you can selectively back up just the cases that you worked on. So you don't have to back up the entire 100 cases. Let's say you only worked on 2 cases. You can back up to that same folder, just say back up the last 2 cases. Then you wouldn't get the duplication. So maybe, but this is somewhat complicated. So the straightforward backup is what I showed you. And then maybe for another session, we can do a selective backup, selective restore, and I can show how that would work.
And one last question from Blair. He asked about printing, if you want to keep paper trails, paper cases.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So let's go to one of the clipboards here. So you can obviously, there used to be an ability to print directly from the clipboard, but I think that it was not working as well in terms of connecting to the user's local area network printer or finding the printer every time. Like, I think, so what you can do now is to download your graph as a PDF. So the possibility is the same. When you do that, it will say file saved successfully at desktop. So when you open your desktop, the file will be saved, and then you can print using, your print dialog with your computer, and you can just print that. The other thing that you can also do is to come in here, and here you have the option to print. So you can print by session. And so right now this session is highlighted if I did this, but it will print the session for you and any notes that you have here. So it will print all the notes first, and then the actual session clipboards. It will print those as well. And you can use that to print the entire chart here, or just the clipboard for that one from the clipboard.
Great. There are no more questions.
Great. So we're almost at time. Thank you for attending. I wish you a wonderful weekend coming up. Happy Friday, and see you next time.